Today we are happy to have these two panelists. And what we want to talk about is the whole idea of content creator wellness. I think if there's a space in which syllabus imekimbizwa is in the space of content creation because there's so much pressure, there's so much demand. It's like every day when you wake up, the clock starts ticking. And by the time you're going to bed, you are almost spent, but then you have to think about the following day, and then you wake up and repeat the same. The process of doing that, I think a lot of people are getting burnt out. The other thing is, of course, the economics around it, because by the end of the day, one of the things that we tell people at business, the reason why we know what we do is to make money. Everything else follows after that. So again, there's also a lot of pressure in terms of being able to make content creation sustainable. Unfortunately, not only will say that there is money to be made, but when you go to the platform, the money becomes very hard to find. And when you're building your heart, then your fans looking at your ball, and they tell you they want money that you've not even made. So today we are going to address those two issues. And I want to start off with the first issue, which is how would you advise content creators what to do so that they can balance the pressure of productivity with their physical and mental wellness?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Something I like to say that I had earlier. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap once. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap once. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Brian Kariuki. I work for Jubilee Health Insurance under the Jubilee Group, and I have the singular responsibility of taking care of our clients' well-being, and hence I manage the wellness department. He's asked an interesting question. So there's an aspect of social pressure when you think about content creators. There's an aspect of burnout. There's an aspect of anxiety. There's an aspect of imposter syndrome. And the question is, how do we manage all these things? So the first thing that I'll say is prevention usually is better than treatment, right? And prevention starts by awareness. So I know most of us are either in the journey where they're beginning content creation or aspiring to be content creators, but I'm sure if I spoke to Mato, he'd have many stories to tell you about instances where he's felt as an imposter, instances where he's felt anxious to go on stage, or even burnt out because of a lot of work. So the first thing is prevention, and learning more about these things goes a long way. So like you're in this setting now, you want to know more about it, that's a good thing. The next thing you want to do is, once you have the awareness, then you're able to kind of like have a finger on the pulse. For example, you want to know how you will present if you're burnt out. And I'll give burnout as an example because I think it's one of the most dangerous ones in this particular industry. So there are scenarios where you have all of a sudden become lazy, all right? And it's quote unquote lazy. So it's been 2 weeks, you've not written a blog, correct? You have also postponed 4 or 5 appointments out of the 6 that you had in that week. And then all of a sudden, nothing seems fun anymore. Going to K1, perhaps, or going to Klabu for the girls who are here. Now you don't want to go. The third thing, you've withdrawn socially, right? So you'd go hang out with your friends, and now you prefer to be alone. So once you start picking up on these things, then you start to realize that there's a problem. So what then do you do? So we've talked about prevention, we've talked about picking up what the issues may be. The next thing is now, what do you do? So there are various levels of action. So the first is a social one, talking to someone. All right? That's the first step. You have your colleagues, your classmates, your friends. Those are the first people. And often opening up to them seems to be easier than most people. The next level is to seek support from a counseling standpoint. So you'd go to a professional who you'd then have a conversation about your health and how you're feeling, and you talk about it. Usually for those of us who've been to therapy or counseling, the setting is almost like this, only now that you're looking at each other. And then the interesting thing is there's usually a box of tissues. They know what's going to happen. All right? So there's a box of tissues there. And then for those of us, again, who've gone to therapy, the first question is almost always, so tell me, what brought you here, Brian? Yeah? And usually before that, you are just being anxious about what to do. So that's the next level. And then finally, the fourth thing is, if at the psychology or counseling or therapy session, the practitioner thinks you need help beyond that, what happens is they'll refer you to a psychiatrist, right? And the psychiatrist now will prescribe medication, okay? And this often, usually for content creators, are antidepressants, because usually what happens after you're burnt out or you're anxious or you have imposter syndrome is you get depressed. But then sometimes it's also performance-enhancing medication, which a lot of the content creators end up depending on long-term. So as I conclude answering this question, I remember a time when I was just completing medical school. By the way, I'm a medical doctor by profession. I studied here and I taught here, stopped teaching here last year. Now, a few of the friends I made over time in medical school happened to go into content creation. Some became pilots. The content creation, and some of them started trading Forex. You talked about Forex. So these Forex guys had their markets open very early, and hence they needed to be awake. So the question or the request was very simple. They don't have a prescription, but they need concentration enhancing medication. Okay? So they need Ritalin and so on and so forth. So they're like, Doc, now I just need a prescription from you. Yeah? Or if you could actually even just get the meds and then you bring me, that'll work very well. All right? So that was a lucrative opportunity that I declined. But basically my point is, content creators tend to be on performance-enhancing drugs, and usually that is what keeps them going. So you don't want to get to that point. And then finally, the thing I'll say but not talk about is all this usually ends up resulting in poor coping mechanisms and hence substance use and abuse. I'll stop there.
Good. Thank you for that, Daktari. I think that was very insightful. And I think, alluding to what the doctor has said, sometimes things can get very thick when it gets to content creation. And especially for people who are aspiring and who want to get into it, I think let's be cautious, because sometimes what you see is not what is really happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of make-believe that people do, and sometimes we swallow that wholesome na inatuletea shida. So the next question is around making the money. And the question is in two parts. The first thing is, what approaches would you recommend for content creators, especially the younger people or people who are starting out? And secondly, what instruments does the organization have as Jubilee to support them in that journey? Because it is becoming increasingly necessary and important for us to have the right tools and instruments so that we can be able to make the right steps and realize the goals and that we want to achieve.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. My name is Catherine Kangata. I work with Jubilee Life. I'm a general manager there. And what I do every day is to talk to people about retirement. And when I look at you, all of you are young, almost the age of my daughter. I was even telling him Hey, watu ni young. Yeah, but again also you once here in the universities, we did what you are doing. Then at some point in time, you start earning money. And that money, you need to start thinking about investments, because that money, you can't earn it forever. A time comes that you really need now. Okay. The time. Okay. A time comes that you need to. Can you hear me? Okay. A time comes that you really now need to start investing that money. And why do you need to invest that money? It's because we cannot earn money and consume that money that we've earned 100%. A day will come, you get children. A day will come, you want a nice house. A day will come, you need a car. A day will come, you need to go for a holiday. You can't live on loans. You can't live borrowing. So why it is important for you to save your money and to build a culture of saving is because you need to manage your money well. And that's where we come in to talk to you early. In fact, the conversations that we are having in our space now is to start talking to the regulators, talking to the universities, talking to people to start understanding that these conversations should start as early as now what we used to call secondary schools, and coming to colleges, coming to universities. Why? Because we start talking about savings and start building that culture in terms of discipline and commitment, then at the time that you need that money, honestly, that money will be available for you. I thank God that we got into an environment that has helped us to know some of the things we know today. And you are lucky that we are able now to tell you that it is important even as you start working, because what you're doing, content creation, pays the money. It gives you that money. But again, are you going to live on that money 100% in terms of consumption without thinking about savings? So in the industry, I don't want just also to limit it to Jubilee. In the industry, we have many products that help somebody to save. And let's not even talk about retirement. We have many people in your industry who get lump sums. You get a lot of money, you paid maybe a paycheck of 3 million, 2 million. And honestly, when I got employed and got promoted, one manager told me, please find holes for this money. Otherwise, the money will find holes and it will take you in there. Basically, what that guy was telling me is, please plan for that money well. Invest it well so that the time that you'll need that money, it's available. But again, also remember, that money can lead you to what he's talking about. You can get into other things that you never had thought about, like alcoholism, partying, until now, you are kaput, you have nothing. So that 3 million shillings, you should ask yourself, out of this money, how much should I save? And that is where we come with products like money markets. I've had, my daughter was even asking me about money market. Thank God that you have all that information in the social media so you can get to know about the investment. Money market, why do we talk about even money market? It's because you may need some money, emergency fund. Maybe 2 years from now, you might find somebody in your family sick, and probably it's the abnormal diseases that we are hearing, terminal illnesses that are calling for a lot of money. Do you want to keep holding Harabis? Or probably you're in hospital, you need that money. All is a corona, You need to continue living, and that's why we save that money, and you need to save that money somewhere where it is going to earn you interest. Please be very deliberate on asking the hard questions. How much will I earn as interest for the money that I'm giving you? There are many solutions that are there, but I'll tell you honestly, do not invest money where your money is not earning you very good return. There's something called inflation, and I'm sure you have heard on a lady saying that she's in economics. So if you are earning, let's say, 5%, and the inflation is 5%, are you earning anything? No. So you need also to look at inflation, and you also need to do your homework in the market to just appreciate how much is being earned by other funds. That comparison is very important. The other thing, we also have what we call retirement savings, like the pension funds. Please save for retirement. I am telling you, as it is right now, I'm feeling very young, but if I look at my ID, it reminds me I'm headed to another stage where now I shall start earning an income as a pension. So, ladies and gentlemen, very important for you to appreciate that life happens. You need to save for retirement. You need to save for that rainy day, and that is why that conversation, we have it today.
Asante sana. That brings us to the end of the session. But Jubilee is here. They have a stand or a space in the hall, so you can continue the conversation and ask any questions. On my part, I want to offer anybody who's interested in content creation, if you'd like to write, visit our website, businessakenya.com. We can give you an opportunity to write, and also probably on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the rest. You'll find our contacts there. Reach out to us, and if need be, we'll give you a chance. Thank you so much for your time.
A better round of applause for them.